MJ Gray engagement situation is really interesting and an opportunity to talk about noticing what someone says versus what they don't and how this shapes your media literacy and who you look up to. I do not follow MJ Gray. I don't have any beef with her, but I want to talk about this as someone who talks about corporate unwritten rules and keeping an eye out for bullying or toxic behavior is a red flag with a boss that seems nice. Or if you're in a position of leadership and you're looking to promote someone else, a red flag is if they say something but do something else. There can also be, if you're working in indirect cultures, people saying things or showing you things that tell you otherwise, which they could be trying to tell you intentionally. Because what's interesting to me with this MJ Gray conversation, people being flabbergasted she's engaged, where, like I said, I have not followed her, and I really have not followed her. Even I've shared some of her videos about patriarchy. For example, I think I shared one recently about her take on Kristi Noem's husband. It's a very good, I think, accurate take, but I don't follow her because of all the luxury consumerism just isn't my thing. This gets to my point. If I was a class researcher who is on here doing designer luxury hauls, would you take me as seriously? You shouldn't. I'm not saying we don't give people grace. I'm not saying we aren't all hypocritical in some way, but that's a pretty clear sign, if it was me, that I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. And for her, she has, when I've seen her videos, has always talked about dating rich men and them giving her gifts. Why would she be dating anyone if she's not interested in securing a relationship? Why would she be accepting these gifts if she's not interested in luxury and consumerism? So again, people are talking about what she has said, but we have to always also look at what somebody is doing. And another thing, and this gets lost on the internet, people are also mad that she spoke in absolutes, and now I see people saying, now you want nuance for yourself. We have to, as consumers on the internet, and this also happens in person with people in power, whether in your workplace or geopolitically, y'all don't like nuance on the internet. It does not get pushed in the algorithm. Y'all do not comment. You do not share. As a psychologist, I try to stay away from absolutes. But you see, I just said, didn't I? Said y'all don't like. No, some of you like nuance. Obviously, I have 40,000 followers on here. This is a moment to consider and keep and learn from this. That almost anyone, see, I'm trying not to speak in absolutes, who speaks in absolutes on here is doing it to get views, and that's not inherently wrong. But you need to keep your critical thinking cap on. Not necessarily bean souping, because again, the absolutism just kind of helps with, you're just helping their engagement. They are doing this because nuance is not rewarded. And part of that is when people speak in nuance and caveats, part of why smart people are not considered to have executive presence is they don't just confidently say shit. They say, well, in this situation, it might be this, or well, that would depend on these variables, or do we know more about this, or I'm not sure. And a lot of times our systems in business, in politics, etc., don't like someone who doesn't make it seem easy and confident, because that's what we reward as opposed to actual competence. And because we do this, that's why we don't have much diversity in leadership. One of the most well-researched examples of this is there's a big gender difference, and women are less likely to say, yes, 100%, gonna happen. Women are more likely to say, I'm not sure, let me look into that, etc. And it's not what we culturally reward as leadership. And the same happens online. We tend to follow people that we find taking these absolutes, especially if they align with what we like, or if you want to hate watch, which I've never understood, because it feels good to feel validated or to feel like, wow, this person really has all the answers. So what you can learn from this, if you're really upset with this woman getting engaged, you feel betrayed, is to take this as a critical thinking lens, not just with your media literacy, but also when you hear politicians talk, when you're evaluating someone's performance at work, your leadership is telling you something. If you're thinking of investing in someone's business and they speak in absolutes, they don't show you any of the drawbacks or how they're going to mitigate risks, these are things to consider that are important for, honestly, human interactions in general. Overall, I don't have strong opinions on this woman being engaged. I don't know her. Like I said, I see a lot of her content because I also talk about patriarchy. I'm not in a relationship coach or content creator, but I'm partnered with a man. I have strong opinions on that. This isn't for or against her, but these are the patterns that are important to recognize. And this is a very nuanced, heavy video, and as I've said, it's probably not going to get many views because it's not the quick, incendiary hot take. And if you want more accuracy, more truth, it's not always going to feel like that.